In remembrance of Big George Foreman, my salute to a heavyweight great. Hello, fight fans. This is Coach Nathan of NS Champ 7 Part Boxing Series at nschamp7.com with a fond remembrance of an iconic champion who first won the title in an iconic era of heavyweight boxing. Now, as we've all witnessed, the former record-breaking two-time world heavyweight boxing champion, ordained minister of the gospel, and successful entrepreneur, Big George Foreman has transcended into eternity. That was this past weekend. So this commentary is not only to honor and a tribute to him, but it can also be a source of boxing history to the younger students of the fight game. Case in point, I heard a young former world champion on a podcast who, when he was asked his thoughts on Foreman, he only heard about his title fight loss to Ali. And as he continued to speak, he knew more about his successful cooking grill than his background or his fight record. Big George Foreman first burst onto the heavyweight boxing scene with his accomplishment of an Olympic gold medal in the 1968 Olympic Games in Mexico City, Mexico. He turned pro under the guidance of legendary former world light heavyweight great Archie Moore and his amateur trainers Charles Doc Brodus and Dick Sadler, who incidentally, Dick Sadler also trained Archie Moore the last 10 years of his professional boxing career. Another one of his early mentors was one of the meanest heavyweight champions in history, and that was none other than Charles Sonny Liston. Now, these guys had a lot of sparring sessions together, and Foreman always said in his interviews what he learned from Liston was the importance of the jab and how to throw it. Because Liston, at the time that he was champ, he had one of the hardest left jabs in boxing. Also, the importance of intimidation. The cold-blooded stare down, well, that was a trademark for both of those guys throughout their careers. And he said Liston was the only person who ever made him back up in the gym. All of which led George to a 37 wins, 0 defeats with 33 knockouts, and to a title shot held by the man who had previously beaten the greatest in Muhammad Ali. And this guy was also a former Olympic gold medalist and undefeated, and that's Smoking Joe Frazier. Oh, the result of the match? A title-winning TKO victory after knocking Frazier down 6 times in 2 rounds, one punch lifting Frazier off the canvas. Now, earlier I stated that this was an iconic time for heavyweight boxing. Well, I'm talking about a period filled with outstanding fighters who were all championship level, but didn't all become champions. Guys like Kenny Norton, Jimmy Young, Ron Lyle, Ernie Shavers, Larry Holmes, Joe Buckner, not to mention the greatest himself, 3-time world champ Muhammad Ali, and the man George took the title from, Joe Frazier. And the truly amazing thing about this whole scenario, now George fought 5 of those guys I mentioned, 5 out of those guys I just mentioned. Was that after losing his title to Ali and later a decision loss to Jimmy Young, he resurfaces after a 10-year layoff and a spiritual conversion to wind up in the midst of a whole new era of top heavyweights. And he wins the title with a come-from-behind knockout over an undefeated Southpaw champion in Michael Moore. Now, Moore said in a recent interview that it took 32 stitches to close the busted mouth he received from that right-hand knockout punch from Foreman in the 10th round. And Moore had just beaten the guy who Foreman had dropped a decision to in Evander Holyfield. Oh, and I almost forgot. This was right before Foreman's 46th birthday. George Foreman retired with a professional boxing record of 76 wins, 5 defeats, with 68 by way of knockout. He held the title up to just 2 months shy of his 49th birthday, and he's listed as number 9 on Ring Magazine's hardest punchers of all time. Now, Foreman's net worth and his phenomenal success inside and outside the ring. It's been well documented. And despite all of this, he wasn't perfect. The man had flaws, as all of us do. But his life should forever remain a testimony, not just to his family, but also to those, and especially to those troubled teenagers, as he once was, as to how your faith in Christ can raise you from your obstacles and above your flaws. And as he himself stated, and I quote, "It doesn't matter what you achieve or what you accomplish in this life. The most important thing is to keep your eye on the true prize, and that's serving God." He also said, "Don't let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do." Not bad advice for a guy who was told he'd amount to nothing as a kid while being raised in the tough Fifth Ward section of Houston, Texas. So that's my take on this one, folks. A few words of tribute and respect to a forever heavyweight great, Big George Foreman. But don't forget, for elite boxing instruction, elite boxing analysis, and elite boxing philosophy, click that like and notification button, share and subscribe to NS Champ 7 Part Boxing Series at nschamp7.com.